There's a nature to the tool that you use in regards to what it is effective in helping you achieve. And if you swap that tool for something that has a different nature, a different existence or purpose, then the same task that maybe is easy, fast, becomes difficult, becomes slow, maybe it becomes dangerous. Welcome to another episode of the Physician Growth Accelerator, a show where we break down your medical practice systems into vitals, give you the tools to diagnose root cause of what may be restricting your growth, and prescribe what to do about it. I'm your host, Zed Williamson, and I believe that everything you experience all the time is the perfect result of your current system. And there is freedom in that statement because it just shows us that if we want something different, it's really up to us to take control and create a different outcome by tweaking the system. Now, this is called the Physician Growth Accelerator, but I like to define growth as we see it. It doesn't necessarily mean busier. Some practices shouldn't be busier. But growth, the way we look at that, is business health. And there's something that's been happening over the last, let's say, call it 20 years in private medical practices. And that is this shrinking gap between top-line revenue, the total dollars that are brought in, and your costs. And they're actually shrinking together. They're both moving. And what that does is it puts stress on your business. And the unhealthier the business side of your practice is, the more stress that shrinking gap creates. So the tools that we talk about on the Physician Growth Accelerator are here really to help you stretch that gap back out and create more space for you to operate a healthy medical practice. And I want you to, speaking of practicing, I want you to think about a tool that you use with patients. Let's say you're a surgeon and there's a specific thing that you use every time to accomplish a specific outcome. And it's a tool, maybe you love it, maybe you like it, but it's effective and it's designed for that. If you're not a surgeon, think about maybe a diagnostic tool. Anything that is designed to help you do something different than what you could do by yourself. I want you to imagine that tool. Imagine using it. Imagine it going well. And now what I want you to do is swap that tool with a number 2 pencil. Just in your mind, whatever that tool is, swap it with a number 2 pencil. Number 2, I must be caught on my son taking an ACT test. The fact that it matters, it's a number 2. It doesn't matter. But so think about that tool being swapped. And now, can you do the same thing? Chances are no, unless the tool that you were going to use is very much like a pencil. Obviously, that would ruin my example, so just choose something else. But the idea is there's a nature to the tool that you use in regards to what it is effective in helping you achieve. And if you swap that tool for something that has a different nature, a different existence or purpose, then the same task that maybe is easy, fast, becomes difficult, becomes slow, maybe it becomes dangerous. And I know that's a really easy idea to wrap our head around. But now what I want you to do is I want you to swap the idea of this physical tool, and now let's talk about humans. I'm a big fan of understanding systems and how they affect the outcomes we're experiencing. And every system has a human component. And that's why I like to focus on neuroscience and human behavior, because it's always part of the system. And there are natures to people. We like to use a tool to help understand people's personality nature called predictive index. There's a lot out there: Myers-Briggs, DISC, Kobe, StrengthsFinder, a lot. And sometimes these tools get looked at as like, oh, that's interesting, and then you move on. But in reality, there is a valuable way to use this tool where you actually understand the nature of a person. Why does that matter? Well, this weekend, my wife, my son, Elijah, and his girlfriend, we went to one of those places where you rent out the bay and you play games in front of the screen, right? It's 10,000 degrees outside where we live, so the idea of hitting golf balls inside sounded pretty good. And we got there and we ate a little lunch first. And the woman that was in charge of us starting to use the virtual reality bay came up to the table and just said, "Are you ready to start?" And we looked at her and we said, "Yeah." And so then she said, "Follow me." And she walked away. And we were all sitting, napkins on our laps. And we're like, oh okay, hurry up, let's catch her. And we get over to the bay. And she says, "Have you been here before?" "No." "Okay, well, it's straightforward. You click here, you click here. If you don't like using the screen, here's the mouse. Have fun." Okay, so we get in, we're doing it, whatever. And we're having fun, goofing off. And then, almost like in a way that startled me, she came up behind us, walked up to the wall, and pushed this button that turned like the whole thing red and said, "Your time's up." And then she walked away. Now, the funny thing is, we work with personality profiling so much. This didn't affect me in a way where I thought that she was off base. I thought her company who hired her put her in the wrong position. But the thing is she was just displaying her nature. She is most likely someone who is very detail-oriented, follows a strict guideline of rules, and keeps things absolutely organized. I'm sure that she was waiting for us to get up with bated breath, just like, come on, get out of the way, so she could come and perfectly clean this bay so she could check it off the list and move on to the next thing. It's not good, it's not bad, it just is who she is from a nature standpoint. Now, you might argue that in a customer service business that this organization has not served her well in the sense of interviewing her, hiring her, and giving her a job to accomplish without probably the proper tools to do it in the way that the company really wanted. I would imagine if a manager or owner witnessed her behavior, they'd be concerned because a lot of people could have taken it as negative or with an attitude. But here's the thing, is we have to take responsibility for all of the outcomes because they all are the perfect outcome of the current system. Her behaving that way is a perfect outcome. It was designed, it was predictable. I'm pretty sure that if I could have done a predictive index or one of the other assessments on her from a personality profile, I probably could have explained what our experience would have been like without meeting her. So when we run into something where we have team members and it just seems like a constant struggle and they are not getting the thing right that we wish or can't understand why they don't get, it's very possible that we have put them in a position to basically swim upstream, just go against their nature day after day after day, and that is exhausting. What's interesting is, with this person, the organization could create rules like always smile, speak a little slower, ask people how they're doing, and she would follow those rules. They just haven't done that with her because they probably assume that customer service is common sense. But all of us are different. There are things that are in our nature and things that are not in our nature. And that's the case with all of your team members, every employee that works with you, every patient that you interact with. There is something about their nature that drives them and that has them using less mental energy than if you put them outside of your nature. So if you have someone in a role and they keep making detailed mistakes, but they're great interacting with patients, chances are that's their nature. It doesn't mean that they're bad. It just means that's where they strive. That's where they do a good job. You might have someone who's incredibly detailed. And we see this a lot with the position of a surgery scheduler in private practices that are scheduling procedures. And sometimes that person does a better job of scaring patients away than getting patients to be excited about their procedure because they're so detailed and straightforward. So it's just something to think about. We use predictive index. All the tools give you good insight. If you're curious about what a tool would look like, you can actually go to our website, send us a note, and just put in there predictive index or PI, And we'll send you a link for you to try it yourself just to see what kind of results would come back about you. And then you can see how useful or unuseful that is. Feel free to do that. You can do that at physiciangrowthaccelerator.com. And if you feel that squeeze between the top line revenue and your costs, and you feel like that gap is getting smaller and it's driving stress in the organization, there's likely constraints that you can work on to actually improve the size of that gap. So go to physiciangrowthaccelerator.com and check your vitals and see what may be jumping out at you as the place to focus to create more throughput for your practice. Hope that was useful. We'll see you next time on Physician Growth Accelerator.